Hey guys, Sebastian again. So today I'm going to be breaking down round 3 of the Garry Kasparov vs. Deep Blue rematch from 1997. Now, without further ado, let's quit the dilly-dally and let's begin. In this position, Garry Kasparov plays the move that you saw in the thumbnail. He plays a d3, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and c4. Knight to f6, possibly building up the move d5, a3, preventing anything from going to this b4 square, d6, opening up this light squared bishop, knight to c3, this is now a 4 knights English, bishop to e7, g3, going for a light square bishop fianchetto, and short castles. That happens. Queen to d7, going for this trade. If you give black a move, let's say e4, something like this is what he wants. But instead, after queen d7, Garry Kasparov plays knight to g5, attacking this bishop and defending the h3 square. So we get bishop to f5 and e4, attacking this bishop. Now it has to move to one of these two squares. It moves forward with g4, f3, bishop to h5. Now don't go chasing it away immediately. Knight to h3, knight d4, knight to f2. Now it's probably going for an idea like this, and putting his knight onto g3, h6, bishop to e3, c5, just completely locking down on the center with this knight, b4, going for a destabilization of that pawn in the pawn structure. I really hope that that's a word. b6, saying, well, I'm not going to destabilize my knight in the center and give you a weakness with this pawn going here. Rook to b1, he's saying, well, now if I take this way, I have the open b file, and if I take it and you take this way, this pawn's a weakness. King to h8, honestly, I cannot describe why he played this. I cannot describe why Deep Blue played king to h8. Rook to b2, possibly going for this after the knight moves, but might be going for this or this. This is also a good move. All three of those moves, well, maybe not this one, but either of these moves look pretty good. a6, b takes c5, b takes c5, bishop to h3, attacking the queen, queen to c7, because, well, you don't want to lose your queen. Bishop to g4, going for this trade, bishop to g6 instead. Now f4, e takes f4, g takes f4, queen to a5, attacking this, it's a fork. Bishop to d2, defending this, but losing the pawn. Rook to a2, defended by the knight. Queen to b3. And this position is actually winning for black. Black wants you to trade pieces, and he might even trade this as well, but this knight is very powerful. I would not recommend really trading it after something like this. Like if you get kicked out, I mean, yeah, I guess you can take it and kind of just make it to where you've moved this piece, well, once, now twice. So it went from boom, back, and then it takes. So yeah. So we got, after queen b3, we get f5 attacking the bishop. Oops, sorry. Oh, never mind. Queen takes d1. Bishop takes d1. Bishop to h7. And knight to h3. For sacrifice of a pawn, Kasparov has achieved a point with more active pieces. Rook f to b8, but those active pieces will not help you. Deep Blue's still winning. Knight to f4. Bishop to d8. Knight fd5. Knight to c6. Bishop to f4. Exploiting this weakness. Knight to e5. Bishop to a4. Just cutting off some squares from pieces. Things like this or this. So that's a really smart idea from Garry. Knight takes d5. Knight takes d5, keeping his eye on the center. a5. While this passed pawn is blockable, it is something that Kasparov must constantly be evaluating, because it could easily become a what's the word? A nuisance for Kasparov. Hold on, give me 1 minute really fast. My nose itches. Oh. God damn. Sorry about that. Where was I? There. Bishop to b5. I'm really sorry about the way my nose itched. I grab tissue. Rook to a7. King to g2. g5. Bishop takes e5 check. D takes e5. f6. This is very AlphaZero like from Garry, just controlling these squares from the king. And now it's evaluated up by Stockfish, because the king doesn't have many squares. This bishop doesn't have any squares it can go. Well, it has this square that's safe, but still not very good. And yeah, Garry Kasparov is being very controlling. Bishop to g6. h4. This is a sacrifice. Once again, this is very similar to AlphaZero games. G takes h4, king to h3. You cannot defend this pawn no matter what you try to do. And Garry can also be bringing the rook to the g file now. King g8, bishop takes h5, king to h7. Look at this little triangle maneuver. King to g4, bishop to c7 now. Knight takes c7, rook to c7, rook takes a5. Kasparov wins the pawn back, but it's a difficult position for either side to find a plan for, honestly. Rook to d8. Rook to f3, defending this pawn. King to g8. King to h8. King to h4. King to g8. Rook to a3. King to h8. And now it's just repetition, and it's a draw. Yeah. I mean, the position's hard for both sides to make a plan on, so might as well just draw the game. I don't really blame them. I will say one thing, though, about this game, and that is IBM, for those of you who do not know, was being very sketchy. I probably should have said this in round 1, but before the tournament even, well, not tournament, before the match even started, for those of you who do not know, IBM was supporting Garry Kasparov's, I think it was Professional Chess Player Association. It was basically Garry Kasparov was off FIDE. He made his own counter, like his own similar organization to FIDE, named, I'm pretty sure, the Professional Chess Players Association, and IBM was supporting him. Garry Kasparov agreed to the match as long as they would continue to push some money towards the Professional Chess Players Association, or what we're just going to call now the PCA. And what actually happened was Garry Kasparov, in the first round, was allowed to look at sample games from a smaller, weaker version of Deep Blue. I think it was called Blue Junior, something like that. Deep Blue Junior. And I think it might have been Mini Blue now, but whatever. And they would so he could prep. He could kind of see what the computer was all about. But in this game, actually, not this game, but these matches. By the way, you can click off the video if you don't want to watch this, but here's some history about the game that I find interesting. IBM was being, as I said, very sketchy. This time around, they did not give Garry any sample games for him to look at. So, the number one thing about his playstyle was prep. He had amazing prep. And they just didn't allow Garry to have probably his best part. And, yeah. There's a very good 2-hour YouTube video on it. I've actually watched it. That was the thing that made me want to make this video, these series is now. And yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, please like, and yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow for round 4.